Hey fight fans, I'm Sarah Davis and I hope you had a great Thanksgiving weekend. Coming up next on Fight News Now Extra, we're bringing you the hottest MMA headlines as Strikeforce is suffering blow after blow. Another fighter is arrested and mayhem misbehaves. Our MMA panel will join us in just a few minutes, so here are your newsmakers. It's rumored that Strikeforce may be nearing the end and closing up shop. 3 marquee fights have been canceled in the last month as Gilbert Melendez separated his shoulder, Frank Mir hurt his knee, and now Luke Rockhold has pulled out of his bout with Lorenz Larkin. With the main and co-main blown from the November 3rd card, the event is in serious jeopardy of being canceled, and the relationship between Showtime and Strikeforce is set to be on the rocks. Lightweight fighter Shane Roller is walking away from MMA after Jacob Volkman submitted Roller with a rear naked choke in the first round at UFC on FX5 last weekend. Roller has announced his retirement through Twitter. Roller said that he's starting the next chapter after going 2-4 with the UFC. UFC on FX5 was also unlucky for lightweight Jeremy Stephens, who was supposed to fight Yves Edwards, but was arrested in Minneapolis on the morning of the fight for an altercation that happened a year ago in Des Moines, Iowa. Stephens' management recently said the Iowa authorities had never arrested Stephens nor contacted him regarding assault charges and that they have been extremely difficult to deal with. We'll keep you posted on this as more information is released. Another fighter arrested earlier this year, Jason "Mayhem" Miller, recently joined Ariel Helwani on the MMA Hour, where he stayed in character as Lucky Patrick, who plays in Here Comes the Boom. It wasn't funny. Mayhem acted belligerently, bizarrely, swearing at Helwani and stormed off the show just 20 minutes into their scheduled hour-long interview. So there are your most recent newsmakers. Let's hear what our MMA panel has to say about them. John Pollock, John Ramdeen, and Robin Black. Did you guys watch this interview that Helwani did with Mayhem? And it was just so bizarre.
I did. I've seen train wrecks on the highway with more grace than this interview with Lucky Patrick.
Yeah, I mean, Jason "Mayhem" Miller, you just follow his career. This guy is an unstable human being. The first time I met him as a fan in Las Vegas, and he bagged me the first time as a fan, so you knew that Jason "Mayhem" Miller was not a stable guy, and you just have to follow his career. It's typical Mayhem. He's clearly now just gone off the deep end.
Yeah, and at some point, I mean, shouldn't we leave the guy alone? I mean, what's going on in the world when we decide we need to go and start following and watching and interviewing people who have mental illnesses? You know, let the guy go, let the guy heal up a little bit, let him get it together. You know, I don't know if I want to keep watching these train wrecks, as you put it.
Yeah, well, this guy, I mean, mental illness, I think, is at the root of this whole thing. I think a lot of people want to see this guy rehabilitate himself. That being said, I mean, the guy put himself in this situation, flew himself from California to New York to this interview to promote this movie. So I don't really necessarily put the blame on media wanting to talk to this guy, see what was going on earlier this year when he was arrested. But it just resulted in just a horrendous train wreck of an interview.
And I take your point, and at the same time, I mean, maybe this is how we promote movies now. You know, maybe this is how we promote stuff. You send crazy people to do crazy things. I don't know. The whole media thing starts getting a little nuts when you put Honey Boo Boo on TV and Mayhem Miller.
People are talking about it, and that's maybe the biggest thing for the movie right now.
People were also talking this weekend about Dave Bautista, who now improves to 1-0 as a professional mixed martial arts fighter, defeating Vince Lucero. Your thoughts, Mr. Ramdeen, on the Animals debut?
You got to win.
That's the great analysis we asked for.
He did indeed get a win. And, I mean, hey, look, if the guy wasn't a well-known professional performer already, a WWE performer, we'd be looking and going, hey, cool, this 43-year-old guy chased his dream, he has no athletic background, and he got himself a win. And I mean, that's really the reality of what this guy just did this weekend. The fact that somebody was crazy enough to charge $30 for the pay-per-view, the fact that people were nuts enough to make this guy a main event, that is not his fault or his problem. He went in, he did a great job, he got himself a win in a good little fight in his debut at 43 years old. Good on him.
You say that you know, nobody really knows who this guy is, but I mean, in the office here, everybody saw this Dave Bautista fight. They were interested because they wanted to see the outcome, and I think him being in the main event makes sense because he definitely creates interest, whether or not he's talented.
Well, heavyweights are just one of many weight classes that Strikeforce is looking to fill vacant holes for on November the 3rd. This card looks like it is about one more cancellation away from being canceled, and I think the promotion right now, a lot of talk out there, nothing that we can say 100% right now, but certainly this is not looking good right now for Strikeforce.
Yeah, it's frustrating, and I know it's Showtime's deal with Zuffa. They have had problems in the past dealing with the organization. There's a lot of butting of heads, and hopefully they can sort the whole situation out, because I know Showtime has a dedication to mixed martial arts. They want to put forth great shows, and our good friend Mauro Ranallo says they do have a commitment, and hopefully in the future they'll get this all sorted out. There are a lot of fighters around the world that Strikeforce or Showtime can use to put on exciting fights.
Yeah, I mean, it's Showtime, you're right, and Mauro says it, a lot of people say it, they have a commitment to mixed martial arts, and that's true. You can see it. But at the same time, you know, what is it you're going to do if you don't have the Zuffa-owned Showtime?
Entertain fans.
You know, but with what?
And like Stephan Bonner and Anderson Silva, put on whatever exciting fights
those
you can put on.
Yes, okay, but here's the problem. I don't ever agree with bashing fighters, calling them tomato cans, but I'll bash promoters. There's a lot of tomato can promoters. And these idiots, there are very few people with the skill set and experience to put together a mixed martial arts show that works. On Earth, there's only a handful of guys, and they're all working.
Let's not kid ourselves either. This Showtime deal is in place to prevent a rival promotion from getting a slot on Showtime. And I think this relationship has reached its ceiling right now, where UFC could use a lot of these fighters. I think you have to be able to bite the bullet here and allow Showtime to go their own way. UFC takes those fighters and promotes them to the best they can, because a Ronda Rousey fight on pay-per-view means a lot more right now than it does on Showtime.
I agree with you 100%.
I think Sarah agrees 200%.
Absolutely, almost 300%. Anyways, thanks guys. That wraps up our Newsmakers. Don't forget that you can always keep up to date on the latest news and updates in the combat world by visiting our website, fightnetwork.com. Coming up next on Fight News Now Extra, we have highlights from UFC on FX5.